Okay. So have you just remembered the last classes? We have covered the basic our REST API. Okay, like CRUD operation.
Yeah,
Uh, we have covered like how to create new record in the system, maybe using the post API, right?
right,
And similarly, we have a get API, we have a put API, update record, right? And
right,
similarly, delete API. So these requests maybe browser send and our server receive this request. Server receive this request, and after doing some processing, they are talking to the database, right? So
right,
last class we have talk in-memory database like your M2 database, sorry, H2 database, right?
right,
H2 database. The H2 database is written in the Java language for the just for the development purpose. Whenever you are learning something, initial application development, the H2 database is very work fine for all kind of insert query, update query, delete query, get query, all the database operation you can easily verify and test. But this code you cannot deliver to the customer, yet to the for software users, right? Because this once you server restart, all the data stored in the S2 database are flush out, right? This is the default nature. Due to that, so this is the
right.
in-memory database. Means until your application is running, they store all the data. So today, the same thing we are going to understand how we can change this S2 database to the now MySQL database. Let's example, right? MySQL database. It's clear? So our
Yeah,
objective, we are going to again develop the REST API using the Spring Boot, but not using the H2 in-memory database, but we are going to use the permanent storage like a MySQL database. In the case of your MySQL or Postgres or Oracle or any database server you can use, right? For all the database, Spring Boot is given the uh, configure. Just you configure. Means just you tell your Spring Framework, hey Spring Framework, now my application going to use MySQL as a database or Postgres as a database or Oracle as a database, anything, right?
right.
So whatever we are going to do, all the business logic code written in these applications, like insert, update, delete, there is a no any change required. Only just now we have to learn how we can intimate, how we can inform, hey Spring Framework, don't use this default database H2. Can you please use MySQL database? Right?
Right.
It's clear. So my assumption is that in this case, you have to install MySQL on your database on your machine first thing, right?
Right.
Go to the internet, download the MySQL and install the MySQL, right? It's clear.
So yeah, so MySQL it should be on my hard drive.
In the this is the one software, just like MS Word is a software, Paint is a software. Similarly, browser is a software. Similarly, MS Micro MS SQL MySQL is a database server. You can just download and install, right?
And the reason we are doing it is to be data should be in the
Let's get today we create some application and store two record, three record. Maybe I'm 10 time restart server. Maybe tomorrow, maybe 10 days later, any times I can start my application, all data should be preserved until I'm not going to clean up, right?
okay, okay. So H2 is not that like
H2
not
is
for the
the
permanent.
H2 is the by default in-memory database preferable way for the just development purpose, right? But
Okay,
surely it is not suitable or not heavily designed for the larger enterprise application, right?
right, right,
So overall, the development, whatever we are going to do on a Spring Boot side, API side, controller side, service layer side, there is no any change. Already we covered, but still we're going to revise them and let's understand how we can communicate, how we can our application communicate to the MySQL database, right? Instead
right.
of MySQL, you can do anything, right?
Right.
So first you go just download. Maybe just go say Google download MySQL. Okay,
Right.
MySQL database. Okay, MySQL database. Just this is the MySQL database. Go download and download the installer and install your machine. Right? What is the latest version? So once this is done, so I'm not going to detail like how to download, how to install. You can just do it. Right?
Right.
Next part, good part, I have already downloaded yesterday. So let's go to the MySQL. Whenever you download, they give a bunch of a tool with MySQL. So I have a command line tool, so I'm going to use it to interact with the database. So I'm going this. Whenever you install, they ask password. Whatever the default password is given, you can same password you can log in. Let's get a password. Okay, some password you can log in. Okay, so this is the one of the first things you have to install your MySQL. Okay, we are not going to discuss about the MySQL, maybe separate tutorial if you want to, but this is the very simple. Just go to the install them, right? As of now, nothing. Okay, one thing. Now let's move to the our basic purpose. How we are going to build the REST API via Spring Boot. That application interact to the MySQL database, right?
Right.
MySQL permanent storage location. Okay, so
Um,
I say
I
yes,
have a question.
yes.
When I install MySQL, do I need to add anything for the setup, like a variable?
No, just you install and they ask basic password. You just type the password. You just remember
Okay,
that this is the password. Yes.
I understand. Okay. Okay.
After
Got it.
nothing required. After that, what the things we are going to do, I'll go to explain here, right?
Okay. 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 I understand. Okay.
Just basic, just you say ki install Microsoft, unable to log in here. Yes. This is the only things you have to do. Okay.
Right.
This is the very basic YouTube download, any study ki how to download MySQL, if any problem, right? Okay. So let's go the Spring Boot plus MySQL. Let's just search here Spring Boot plus MySQL configuration I root. Okay, just read by default officially website of your Spring started with accessing MySQL, right?
Right.
Just click here, and this is the basic page where as a Spring community guide us ki how you can talk, you can tell, hey Spring Framework, this is my MySQL database configuration because you install this install in a particular port, particular places, right? Your software. So by
Right.
default, your this you can say Oracle is installed some specific port. Any software installing they require some port, right?
Right.
So those things. So what the things I'm not going to just read out whenever you have times. So purpose that same thing. This is very small tu- tutorial video, but what here we are going to. As usual, whenever you are going to start application, go to the start, Spring Initializer, and Spring Initializer. They say basic things you require to develop your Spring Data JPA and your Spring Web because you want to build the REST API and which database. Last class we used here H2 database. Now I can use the MySQL database, right? So this
Right.
is just need to change one liner from H2 to MySQL. Okay, so let's go to the initializer and create this application, right? So as usual, already you know we have to go select the Maven project as a Java language, screenshot, and whatever this package name you can say any package name, and whatever your class name here say REST. Let's see, you can say this is the user management. Let's you're going to store user details in the database, right? User name, user ID, user age, user something, right? Let's example. So
Right.
user details. Say user details. Okay. Yeah, user management you can say. User management, right? Yep. This is the basic thing you just written. After that, you don't do anything, just select Java 21 because you have a Java 21 install, and this is the left part. Now go to the right part as a dependency. Dependency, we have going to use the REST API, so we can use the Spring Web. So Spring Web say ki you can build the RESTful web service, right?
Right.
So this is one. Second, Uh, this is a good part. Now you can develop your REST API. You can receive requests from user. Now after that, I want to talk to the database. So I have need a database, right? And
Mm.
how both are communicated. So we need some kind of code that required to write the
J-
insert query, update query, get query, delete query. So I'm not going to write
JPA. Yeah.
this code written by Spring Framework. So after that, we need a Spring Data JPA, right?
JPA.
So
Yeah.
here we need a Spring Web to developing REST API and MySQL database. Already we have installed in my application, but my application how talk to the MySQL database? We need a middleware like a Spring Data JPA, right?
Okay.
So that they communicate with the database. So here's a second dependency I'm going to uh, JPA, Spring Data JPA. Notice persist data SQL store. Okay, Java persistent API using the maybe Spring Data or Hibernate their tool. So by default, they are support all the persist means store your information in the permanent database, right? So you can Spring
Right.
API. So third, now it's clear. Now you have a REST API developed, your JPA available for talking to the database. But question, lots of in your micro machine, maybe you install MySQL, maybe you install a Postgres, maybe you install the Oracle, maybe multiple database, right? So we have
Right.
to tell maybe H2 database, right? H2 database. So here we have to tell which driver you want to use. Maybe JDB say MySQL driver or Postgres driver or H2 database or Oracle database, anything. So by default, these codes are same. Spring, your API code, your Spring Data JPA code, or your driver is the same. Only vary according to your which database you are going to be selecting, right? These are the vary. Any one you can choose, right?
Right.
Because why? Because nowadays, if you just go to search, I want to one database and list of lots of database software you can find, right? So they Spring support almost many database where you can use, right? Maybe SQL database or no SQL database. We'll we're not going to divert our topic, okay?
Yeah. Right.
It's clear. So here you have to select, hey, I need a MySQL. Here say कि MySQL driver. This means कि now this is the three dependency you have to add. It's clear why? Web,
Yeah.
data JPA, and SQL driver. It's clear? Any doubt till now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have one question.
Yes.
We already installed MySQL in our hard drive. Why
Yeah.
we are adding this?
Driver means कि here how our JPA talk to how JPA say कि where is the uh, database. Whenever you're talking about the database have a some syntax semantic, right?
Right.
So how this JPA know ki what is the syntax MySQL follow? So MySQL community given some driver. Hey, you want to communicate? You can use this my interface. Okay. So this is the MySQL driver is provided by your MySQL community, right? You just go
Right.
to the download and place between the JPA. JPA talk to this driver. Driver talk to the database because
Right.
database
Okay.
language is not understand by the JPA itself. The JPA need a middleware, right?
Right.
JPA need this MySQL driver. My all the database. Maybe if you want to do the Oracle, you need a Oracle driver. You need a Postgres, you need a Postgres driver. Each database vendor who develop this database, they expose our client library. Someone Java application want to talk to me, you can use this my interface because this is the my code. I know how internal talk, and I can expose you. You can just use my this interface, right? So driver means each vendor provide his one library through which you can communicate them, right?
Right. Right.
This is the purpose of your MySQL driver because you say ki you are going to use MySQL. I JPA as a Java language don't know how MySQL server develop, what kind of your syntax semantic, right? What kind of method they have to call, right? We don't know. So at least MySQL company itself say, okay, you don't know. I expose you
Yeah,
expose this is my driver, you just use this my driver class, and my
I
driver class all know how to talk to the database, right?
I understand. Yeah.
Great. So let's download this code, okay? And download this application. Now application is download done. Just go open it. So this is the open it and just maybe extract them, right? Extract them. Now this is the extraction part done. So I can just take them and paste my C drive in a specific place where we want, right? So we just place one place, web development right here, right? So today we are going to the Spring user management app, right? So here, what we are going to do? Just let's open this application using the open this form in the IntelliJ. Okay.
Yeah. It's a brand new interface, like open and
Yes.
intelligent.
So it will take little bit time. So till now, let's let time. Then go to our basic tutorial. Once you generated project and unzip all the mention here, then go down. So here now you talk what the basic things you have to do on database. So for the MySQL, we have to you want to save any data in the maybe user table, you have to follow some kind of a creation of database. The MySQL is the concept where first you have to create one database, means ki one logical space. In this space you can create multiple table, right? So in one MySQL server, in my one MySQL server, you can create lots, tons of database. Let's say I can create one database your payload management system, one database for your employee management system, one database for your transaction detail, right? I say one database can contain many table, maybe employee one, user detail, department detail in different table. So in case of MySQL server, first we have to create one database from whenever our JPA are going to store information. Let's key in your database, we have one database, two database, three database, right? So which database they are going to store here, here, or here, right? So MySQL is the concept. Whenever you install MySQL server and now you are going to use them, the first you have to use the MySQL existing database or you can create your own database. The question is that how you can know how to create the database, right? First season. So first things, let's go to the MySQL terminal. This is the MySQL terminal. Here use the word command show database, databases. So in this my system, by default, some database, whenever you install MySQL and run, these are the by default database available. Maybe information schema, MySQL, and these are. So I'm not going to use any existing database. I'm saying, hey, let's create my own database for my user application, maybe user database or maybe test database, right? And in this database, you can create all the tables, all the data, right? So database is just a logical boundary where your data going to store, right?
Right.
Clear what is that? Look like in your window machine. Window machine, you have a C drive, we have a D drive, we have E drive. Why? These are just logical drive you where you can go and put some data, right? First you create a
Right.
folder and data. So similarly, in the MySQL database world, first we have to create the logically database name. And inside those database, you can create the different table, right?
Right.
So the same here document say, hey, you have to create one database for your application. It would be good. So these are the basic commands you have to follow to create database. One, two, three command you have to follow. So I just let's copy and just paste in the notepad. Okay. Just explanation. This is three database you have to do. So what first line say? First you have to create the database. Database name can be anything. Okay. This is the one command, right? This is the first command. And second command say whenever you create user, which user then can access those database, right? You can need their user. Second command. Third command, MySQL grant. Okay. See, grant all means you have to give the privileges. Okay. This user have a privileges to do something, right?
Yeah.
Here my database name would be test. Okay, any database name you can give, maybe users. Okay, users database, right? User DB, user DB. Okay, you can give it, right? This is the user database, right? You can say this is my user database. Okay, good. And what kind of user you want? You can give the any username which your application can interact, right? Which is maybe a Spring user or anything. So anything you can, whatever you feel comfortable, you can give your user detail here. So from the same username, our application going to talk, right? So good option, you
Right.
can give anything here. It would be, let's key our name will be test user, okay? Or identified by means password. Whenever you're going to log in the actual database, they need a password, right? You say, hey, this is my password would be maybe test, for example, okay? This is not reality, never you can do like test password, but I just testing, right? And say, hey, this is my user, and just say give all privileges to this database to which user? This is my test user. Okay, test. Let's give the user. Okay, test user. Okay, it's clear.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So what is the at sign question, the percentage sign?
This is the syntax of the MySQL. How to say this is a username and this is a password, right? Create
Hmm.
user this and then is a password identified by this password. Okay, this is the syntax of MySQL. And similarly, this is the grant all means on this database, give all the permission to this user, test user, right? This is the syntax of this MySQL. Okay. So just in this document, say whenever you are going to configure MySQL, you have to configure three activities, right? It's clear. Create
Yeah.
the notice in the MySQL. I say so database. Only there is a these four database by default. I'm not going to use existing. I'm going to fresh new database, right? So
Right.
I'm saying let's create the first command. Say create database user DB, right? So just say hey, okay, just copy this command and paste here, right? Create database. So notice create database done. That's the little bit, right? Okay. And here say again, so database. So databases. So databases. So notice this is the one database created user DB, right? Because we created, right?
Right.
And similarly, now now let's say, hey, this is the my user. Just say this is a test user. What I'm copying? What is happening? This is the my copy command. Oh. So now I just created one user for this database, right? This is the database. Okay. Operation field for the test. What this missing? Let's change the name test user. Okay, test user. Maybe I created some user test user. Okay, test user. So let's create. Go ahead and say. So now test user created, right? And similarly, I am saying, hey, give the all permissions to the test user, right? So
Right.
these commands, as per this documentation, we have to follow, right? Here say Spring user, I say test user, and this is here also mentioned this is the password, this is username, right? So once these three command run, and now your database prepare, right? This is my three command. I'll note somewhere, right?
Right.
It's so once you're done, this is the where you done. This you done on your database, right? On your database, correct?
Right.
Next question, they say ki, one more thing you have to do about this. Now you have to inform. Now your database is ready. You this is the database to your application Spring Framework boot. So generally, how we can talk to this configuration using the application property file. So last, no, this is the our application. Go to the source, go to the main, go to the resources. This is the one is the application dot property file. This is the base configuration file, you can say, where you can uh, give some hint to your application, right? So say, hey, this configuration you have to mention. Just let's read out. Just copy and just paste them here. Okay. So this configuration you have to place. First things, hey, Spring JPA data. The update means ki whenever DDL is a data dictionary language where you can say there are multiple options here mentioned in this documentation. DDL means here you can use like update, create and drop. The meaning is that update means if table already exists, application going to use. Create means ki always create the new database, a new table.
Right.
If I drop them, but I don't want to drop them. If my table created, always reuse them, right? So I'm going
Right.
to the update option. And next say here your data source. Data source what be the your MySQL JDBC driver. Here we can create the my database name. What is my database name? Just mention your database name. Here my database name I can create it. This is my database name UserDB, right? I can say, hey, this is the my database name where and which machine MySQL which machine install. I can say it is install my localhost. So just say localhost because I'm not using any other server. Your MySQL can be installed at different machine, maybe different location, different IP address, right? So here you
My,
can
my one, my one should be local too, local host.
localhost means ki this MySQL server install my local machine, right?
Yeah.
This is the default port of your triple 3306, right? And notice if your database, you need some username password. So hey, space username password. What we create username password? I create the both username password as a test user, right? I create, hey, this is my username, this is my password. These things you have to just change, right? It's clear.
Yeah.
Now this is the this is known as a configuration. Means this is the file, application property file, where I am going, hey, Spring Framework, this is my database, this is my database. So here on this machine this database install, this is the port where this application running, this is the database name internally, and this is the username, this is the password, right? So these
Yeah.
information our application used to communicate to this database. Is it clear?
Yeah.
So these known as a your uh, MySQL uh, uh, configuration file we provided to the Spring framework. Now our Spring framework, our application now easily interact with the MySQL database, right? So here our application means our JPA, Java uh, Persistent API, you are going to talk, right?
Right.
So if this configuration you have to put, notice here MySQL dot driver name here the com dot MySQL dot jc dot JDC driver. This is the class interface provided by the MySQL driver, MySQL company itself, right? So we are not using the com.mysql. This is a MySQL as a database name we are using. So this is a driver from through which our JPA are going to the talk, right? So this basic information about the database. This is the driver name, which driver, and this is the one property here mentioned. If you want to check particular query created by the this our framework, you want to show the query. You say yes, true, false. That means they are going to the show and by default in the production always should be commented. By default, notice here by default it is a commented code, right? Don't enable. But sometime as a
Right.
developer, you want which query our JPA written, you can just show. Today, let's I'm show you so that you can check how the query is written by our application, right?
Right.
So this basic configuration you have to did, right? So almost you are the this. First you go to here says go to the database, log in your database, create one database, create user and give the permission. All done, and this is the configuration file you done. Now almost your database configuration side done.
Right.
Now
Okay.
you have to build your model class, means our which object you want to save in the database. Now again build the repository class, again build the controller class, and let's test the application, right?
Right.
So let's do it. So one thing here, whenever notice here, whenever you go to the POM file, this is the one thing here missing. In the POM file, this is the mention where this is the MySQL, the connector J, right?
Right.
So here you have to a specific MySQL connector you have to download. So by default, if you run by default, I'm not doing anything, right? I just added this configuration, right? And let's start this application as of now. The configuration is okay or not, right?
Right.
So let's go to the. We did lots of here. Just I source main Java. This is the main application. Let's just test my application is properly uh, start or not. Means this configuration, whatever I written, it's okay or not. Now application going to check this database exists not, username exists or password exists or not, this driver exists or not, right?
Right.
So let them just restart this application and then figure out before writing any code. Let's just check our configuration is working as expected or not, right?
Right.
So now Spring Boot 3.15 is starting and application is started. There is no problem, right? It's good.
Yeah.
That's great. So let's stop them. Okay. Sometime maybe you have starting that sometime it will give some error message. Might be on your machine like this class is not found somehow. Sometime you found. This is the MySQL driver not found. In this case might be in whenever you're testing it that error occur, then what the next step we have to do sometime maybe on your local setup sometime might be find the issue. So what the possible solution, just go to the ambient repository, say this is the class not found exception sometime. So just click here and you find the MySQL connector ambient repository. Just you click here, and just get the what are the latest version like here like this is the latest version 8.1.3. Just you can use them. Just click here and this is the copy repository here, right? Copy them and just go in your POM file. In POM file, just change this MySQL connector to your here if you are getting it right. Sometime your application may be not understand what is the driver. The good option always you can find out the latest MySQL connector from this ambient repository, right? It's clear.
Yeah.
So we are in the latest MySQL connector. It's good. And once you change anything in Maven, just you run this command, just refresh the mode, so that if anything uh, problem in the pom.xml, you have to check. But most probably, if you're not getting any exception, you don't need to do anything, right?
Right.
So as of now, this is the basic configurations about your MySQL database. What configuration in this application property? Where is application property? In the main web resources folder inside the application property. Here you just paste this four property. Here you say here say hey Spring JPA always use the update means this is the document mention here. What do you mean by update? Here update means why I'm using update, because I want if table is already create, just use them. Don't always create. So this is the default behavior we want, right? This is the four mechanisms where you can pass, right? So here you can use the update by default. And three property, your application means you are using the MySQL where the MySQL server installed, machine, local machine, this is the port, and this is the database which you created. What is the username of database? What is the password of database? And what is the database driver? So this configuration we put, your application is good. Let's do it, and any doubt we can again connect. So let's just test this. If you notice here, this database you can go here in the your MySQL and so databases, and this is the MyData. How can go inside this database as a MySQL you can command use and user underscore db, right? So you can use db. Here you got database change, and here you can say so tables. Any tables created or not? Because no tables are created because this is a fresh new database created, right? The no table is exist, right? You can if you use MySQL, use MySQL, use MySQL and say so tables. By default, these tables are given by the MySQL itself, right? So I'm not going to use. I can use the my database. So you can use say user underscore db. Okay, and here say so table no database table till now. It's okay. So now our application now going to create database, insert databases. Now after that, we don't need to manually create anything. Just initial one thing we have to create manually, just database, right? It's clear, right? So let's move
Right.
to the application part. So now to go to the Java, and this is my main application. So first things we have to decide uh, our uh, object, which object we are going to store. Maybe say here user. So let's create one class user, right? User
Right.
and some private. Let's your long as a user ID, user ID, right?
Right.
And string private string. Maybe let's say user name. Okay, user name or simply say already this is the user. The by default always user instead of simply say ID, right? ID name. And what I can say user maybe what other thing you can take username age and let's email. Okay. Okay, these are three field you can take anything, right? And as usual we have to get the default constructor, right? None. Default constructor you can get one, and setter getter, right? I want to setter getter for all these field, and just for display I am to go this to string method. So okay, to string method to just check the output, right? So these are things. Now this is a simple class, but how you can say hey JPA, this consider as my database table, right? So how can say hey, you can use the entity as a frame annotation, right? So now this is the user is the one database table going to create, right? And in this database, let's consider this is ID field as a ID. Okay, ID. And also say this ID automatically generated. I'm not going to always say ID what. You can generate automatically. By default, say generated value. By default, they are generating value, right?
Right. Right. You did that before yesterday.
Yeah. So this is the email. That's clear. Good.
Right.
So as of now, and once you done, now the second role play. Uh, let us what we can do. So let's initiate the who are going to create database, we are going to create table, someone going to create. So I need to tell hey spring framework you can create table for me, this is the database table I want, and in value later part I'm going to save. So here you read the use the JPA spring data. So I'm going to say hey this is the interface, I'm going to create interface uh, user
Right.
repository. Okay, repository means they are going to persist our data, but one interface can extend another interface. So here I am going to use the JPA repository. Now here I'm going to use string data JPA, and string data JPA say hey this is a repository. Okay, so here they tell me this is my user, this is my user, and this is my ID. These two things they want, right, to create database,
Right.
right? These are the things. Just now in this interface I'm not going to any writing code, because we are using the scan means we are going to inheritance whatever this class given the interface, all this user have, right? So
Right.
notice interface. This is the interface, and this interface have a method. What method? Save plus delete or this is the super interface of the list interface. All multiple sub interface they have, right? So
Right.
internal they have a list interface, internally have a CRUD interface, internally have a repository interface. So these are the some internally implementation of a Spring framework. So I'm not going to more detail,
Right.
but notice all this method like a save method, find by id method, find all method, find by id method, all these method, save all method, right? All these
Yeah.
method by default we are inheriting from this JPA repository, right?
Right.
Whenever I'm going to create an object of this class, by default we get all this method. So this is the beauty of I'm just using the inheritance feature here, extend, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's clear now. Our database JPA is ready. Good. So now let's what I can do. Now I can let's write my controller and test. Means now I want to, hey, user can request something and receive the value, and I'm saved to database, right? So what I can do. So let's here say class uh, user controller. Okay, user controller, right? And here say
Right.
"Hey, this is my REST API. So I say REST controller, right?
Right.
And REST controller have a let's method first check get all. We are getting data or not, saving data or not. Same operation we can do going to right. So here say let's key public. I want to first save data and then get data. Save means you have to use the post API, right? Post API. Post API say I'm going to use the users,
Save.
right? Save.
Save data.
Users is save. Put means saving data new. So user I want to put users, user and just create. Here I want to user object, user. Okay. And here I have to going to save this user. So I need a save method. Already I have this repository of let's say okay, let's I am going to create the private final this my user repo, right? User repository. Okay.
Yeah.
And just say hey initialize in the constructor, right? So now your user repository have and generally say repository and this space and hit this method. Notice this is the interface. I've not written any method, but using the interface, I have method dot save. Notice save method.
Right.
Save the user, right? And whatever the save method, I just return them, right? It's clear. So this is the way you are able to develop post API which are receiving user detail from the postman, from the swagger, and save in the database. Let's sound the
So it is saving and also returning.
saving and returning. This method, save method, if you look the save method, they save and return the value as well, right? Whatever you are
Okay.
saving,
Okay.
the same object
Mhm.
return here, right?
Right.
So due to that, I say use the return keyword. So this is the now our REST API developed for creating data. Let's check it's working or not, right?
Right.
Let's check. How can
We
check?
need to check it on Postman.
Because we have to give the user detail. User detail means here user detail means name or email ID. We have to give two attribute. This ID
Right.
automatically generated, right?
Right.
So let's start this application. Okay. Till now, any confusion? First, I created our model. Sometime you can say user object, or you can say sometime model, or some DTO. All are the synonym, right?
Right.
Here our JPA repository, and this is our controller, actual REST endpoint, right?
Right.
This is the basic things, and let's test it. Let me now start it. Notice here, notice here, they create table user. Notice, are you able to see? And the log
Yeah.
is create table user. What the field? Email ID and name and your ID. By
Right.
default, our system created your user table. Okay, in which database they created? By default, you provided database in the application property, right? So let's go check and my MySQL and say notice previously say source table, no table, now say show tables. Notice one table, two table they created, one user, one sequence.
Right.
By default, notice here in the SQL query they mention I am created one table for your user, one table for your sequence. Why sequence? They are using this sequence to generate your ID key, primary key, ID, right? Next
Right.
beginner. Internally, our Spring Data JPA internally use the concept of Hibernate. Hibernate is the ORM tool, Object Relationship Mapping tool. Later part something maybe discuss, but internally JPA also using the third party library. Our Spring Data JPA internally use Hibernate to talk to the database, run to the
Right.
queries. Why this query printed? Because in this my application property we have given SQL, so SQL true, right? If you
Right.
did not write this command, this output you are not getting, right? Right?
Okay.
For development purpose we say this is a true, but in the production always is a false, because someone going to write in the log, it will take some time, right? Some nanosecond millisecond time to writing data, right? This will
Right.
increase your performance. So whenever you are debugging application, your development purpose, you can show and check properly query created or run, right?
Okay. So this is not a good practice to
No,
be
it's not a
true.
good practice. Just for the development purpose, you can say true. Just check this query created or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now your application ready, and let's test using the Postman. Okay.
Right.
So what is the URL we mentioned? We mentioned URL like a slash users slash
Slash
users.
users. Yeah.
So
Uh,
go Postman. And what we had developed? We have developed the post endpoint, post REST API. So we are going to Postman. I am going to say, hey, this is the post, right? And this is my
right.
local host, port 808. By default, my application is started on the same port by default, right? By
Right.
default, they are started on the 808 port, right? This is the 808. This
Mm.
port you can also change. Maybe I don't want to 808, I want to 900. Yeah, 990. In this application property, you have to change this port. I'll later part I'll display, right? As of now,
Okay.
this is all other changeable, right? Not always 808, right? This is the default. You can change 8081, right? You can do.
Right.
We'll discuss later. Okay. So let's go to the my postman. I say, hey, this is a postman 808. I post, and this is the, my URL post users. And post means I want to user detail. Go to the body, go to the JSON, and what this my user detail want? User details required what things? User detail required names and email, right?
Right.
So let me I give the this is the name and this is the email. Name maybe Ranjan, email maybe s@gmail, right?
Right.
s@gmail. Okay, here .com. Anything email or you okay, right. So now this two detail, I am not going to pass this ID. I say this is the automatic generator, right? This two field
Right.
to set, right?
Right.
So now this is the let's oh okay and send them. So notice we are getting null. Why?
Why?
That- Because in this request and the same thing. What also good notice here you are not receiving a notice here you are receiving user ID null everything, right?
Right.
Because what happened? Let me think. Because here you are not mentioned this is the our body request. Here you're not annotating, hey, this user is a my what request body, right? Until
Oh,
you are
request body.
annotating,
Yeah. Yeah.
Spring framework not understand ki you want to create the user object and set all the value we send by here, right?
Right.
So this is the things. So always if you receive the some object, you say request user body. And now again let's test it, right? Again test it. Okay, I have to oh sorry, you have to restart them, right?
Right.
I have to once you change something, you have to start them, right?
Right.
And let's done. intentionally I just am not written so that you should aware if not writing what happen. You are not receiving any value, right?
Okay, okay. Because you didn't write the request
Yeah,
bodies. He
yeah.
doesn't know
Now,
where it's coming from.
now this pass this. Now notes this is the created. Notice and
Right,
let's check the database. In database, this table also created or not. Check the server log. This is my server log. Notice in the server log, you receive the user request. Notice ID is the null, Ranjan name, email ID. This is that's good. And notice here, first internally Spring Data JPA say, if first I'm going to find out your ID. They using this next ID value, generate one ID for you, and then updated the some value. Internally say insert into table value, right? Internally they running the query insert into your email ID, your name and ID field. All the value they are placed, right?
right,
So now this is your username, this is the email ID, and this is the ID automatically generated by this code, right?
right,
And go to the database and again say select star from user. Okay, and check. Notice this is the data created for you. Notice, are you able to see
right.
screen? Right?
Yeah,
So this is the we can verify the database. Let's you can write the get endpoint, right? So instead of verifying from here, uh, maybe let's post one more record. Maybe here Smith, right? And Smith have a IB Smith at the rate gmail.com, right? We can
right.
create one more, right? And maybe John, okay? John email ID, right? Multiple record I created. And notice in the MySQL command prompt and just run, hey. So notice all the data created here. Notice,
Right,
and let's why I'm going to check database. Why not our get API return me, right? So it
right,
is good. We can develop our REST API. What the REST API? Let's get mapping, right? I want to get endpoint, and I want to look like all user, right?
right,
Yes, all, and say all means list of user, right? Public, you say list of I want to users, maybe one user, two user, multiple user, right? Just
right,
all, okay. And here I say just say return. Already have a repository, right? Repository say
right,
dot find all. Okay, so
right,
they
right,
return all the methods. Notice now is that this time I am going to start server, and this data, even if my application is stopped, still this data in the MySQL store. This is a permanent storage. Your application running or not running, there is no any problem, right?
right,
Because your application is a different server, MySQL is a different server. Your application send data here, their data is stored here. This is crash, this is the restart, this is the up, still this data available here, right?
right,
So now I'm going to start our server, right? Say, hey, start server. Again, I'm not going to create any data by default because already previous instance I created. I'm just going to check my get endpoint, right? So here, let's now start it. Now I'm going to say, hey, this is my get endpoint and test. By default, they return all the data, right? They return all the data, right? Even you can this check from the browser as well. Get endpoint you can test from your browser itself, right? How? This is the first two record created with null, then Ranjan created, Smith created, this created, right?
right.
It's clear?
Yeah,
So simple. And maybe I want to specific one user, two user by ID. Simply say, hey, I'm going to create by ID. Just get user, whatever the get user, but here I pass slash one ID, right? What is the ID? So here say, hey, uh, one ID, okay? So here say get by ID. Well, get user by ID. And here say ID is my long ID text, right? And here say instead not find all. I want different method. Find by let's say find by
ID.
uh, find by id, find all, say find get by id. This is the long deprecated method. Find by id, find by all. This is the find by id, right? This is the find by
Right.
id, and you pass just id. Okay, so they return one. Maybe this id incorrect. So might be case did not return any data or can return data. So notice this find by id method return optional t. T means user. Optional means whatever you id pass, maybe data exists or maybe not exist. Both case, right? Might be I am maybe here pass incorrect id. That id not exist, right? So in this
Right.
case, API develop very generic. This is not written one user. This is written optional user. Okay, optional. Okay, because might be user exist or might be not exist. Right?
Okay, okay. Might be user exists, might be not. Okay.
Because depend upon your input. I say 1000 ID of employee. 130 no. Maybe I pass 9. There is no record for the 9. Might be case, right?
Hmm. Right.
And notice this value I want to read from this here, right? From here. I want to slash maybe ID 52, right? This is the value I want. This value I want to read in the application. Again, you have to use the inform. Hey, this is my request parameter variable, right? So here you say, hey, this is read value from the your parameter from this request, right here. So here you tell you can receive the ID and find here you can return the whatever the value find, right? So let me
Right.
stop and check this my get by ID endpoint, right? So notice here just we are using the existing implementation for our purpose, right? Our user detail service. And let's done and say, hey, this is the get endpoint. I want to, this is the 54. Let's 54 I want to check. This is the 54. Server is started? Yes, server is started. Let's send request. So I'm only bad request. What say?
Maybe the server hasn't started yet.
Let me check. Let me check.
It did.
ID is the ID parameter type long is not changed. Okay, what ID I am written is ID the long? Yes, ID is the long. There is no problem. By default, this is the ID parameter. It's a, a request parametering ID. Anything you can give. I'm not only ID. Let me check again. A request param find user by ID. Find get user by ID. So let's check as out this value come on here or not, right?
Right.
Let me check this value. Whatever the ID I'm passing here, I receive a not ID. And users get mapping slash id user slash get mapping. Yes, let's stops and again check print this value coming or not. Now this says application started, right? And
Right.
again I'm going to uh, postman and say I am not passing first check all. We get all data. Let's pass id 54 id 54 and send. I'm getting bad requests. Path, not found path. Something users as path. Okay, path slash no. Request body request parameter request mapping request path. Wait a minute. Same here. 1 minute. Here we have to thing.
Request
Maybe.
param, maybe param.
Yesterday we discussed same thing. It works. What we did. This is our endpoint. Path variable. You can say this is the path variable. We have two parameters here. If this you pass in this means they are expecting the body. Here should be path variable. This is the path. No, no, yeah? This is the path variable. You're passing in a
Oh,
path,
it's a
right?
path. Right, right, right.
So
Yeah.
this is the host should be. I'm sorry. This is the your path variable. I am received from the path, right?
Right, right.
Due to that, say this is bad request. Means at least mention your problem with only request parameter. Means this is the value we not reveal some path. This is the path variable.
Got it, got it.
Let's start it again and test it. So sometime be carefully with this annotation because mostly sometime you use the different annotation, different we are expecting, right?
Right.
Maybe now it's okay. Let's test it again. Test it, and now we are getting data, right?
Right,
If I get 52, I'm getting 52, right? I'm let's
right.
pass some incorrect value 34. It should be null. Something this value not exist, right? Due
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah.
data not optional means might be getting data or getting empty, nothing, right?
Right,
So notice whenever you're running this query internally, run this query run internally. Notice this query run internally. Notice this query run
right.
internally. So they run this query internally. This query they run here. Notice this query you can copy and run on the MySQL as well as run and paste here. Just you want to ID pass 52. You are getting the data, right? Notice the data you're getting, right? You pass,
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah.
you're getting this data. Same query they internally generated for you, right?
This is like a SQL query.
SQL query, yes, like name, this is SQL query generated by your application.
Right, right.
So this query you are able to find out because you want to show, hey, how, because this is nothing magic. JPA is doing internally code for you, right?
Right,
So this method internally find by ID method return each and everything. It's good. Even you can get from here as well as from browser you can test, right? Here all data, maybe I want to 53, just say slash 53, right? You're
right,
getting right. Maybe you want to these are the data which you want to delete. Just slash. So you want to, this data must be deleted. Unnecessary data created, right? This is the null, right?
right,
So let's implement the delete by ID, right? ID to notice ID automatic generated, right?
right,
So let them say, hey, one more mapping should be at that delete mapping. I want to delete. Okay. The same whatever this ID for the get. Similarly, I'm going for delete, right?
right.
As u- what is as user slash particular ID, right? This ID want to delete and say public void and delete it and delete. Here say I receive the again ID path variable, right?
Right,
ID path variable, and after they say, hey, already repository we have, right? This is my repository. Repository already given a delete method. I say, hey, delete by ID, and I pass your ID, right?
right,
Finally, this endpoint delete done. So later part, I can use this delete endpoint, just delete them, stop them, and start them. So in this way, one get delete all endpoint you can develop. And now notice all time I'm starting server, still my data is preserved. There is data loss, right?
So when you delete, you're getting from a URL. So that's a path variable.
Yes. Yes, whenever you're passing the here value, this is a path variable. Whenever you're passing here, that is your request body, your request param, right? Request parameter. This is the body part, right? This is the body, request body, right? This is the body
Right.
selected, and this is the request body. So now started application. Let's test all am tested. Notice all are tested. Here even you can say all are running. Let's say I want to remove this ID one and ID two both, right?
Right.
So because here we will not any option to select the delete, right? Operation. So you have to use the postman or curl. Hey, I am going to delete operation, right? And say, hey users, I want to delete user one, right?
Right.
Click them and say deleted. And now let's check in the browser here. Hey, now notice one is deleted, right? Well, let's delete two as well as, right?
Right.
Postman I say, hey, delete two and just okay and delete it. And let's check here again, refresh them, and now two is deleted, right?
Right. Right.
Verify from your database. Select star from user, right? No, okay. Select from user, right?
Right.
Yes, all the data are deleted, right?
Right.
Even you want to update something, change something, you can do, right?
Right.
Let's. This is the Ranjan. I want to change the email ID of Ranjan. Ranjan at the Gmail, right? Or something different, right? Maybe.
Right.
This email ID look like this. The email ID is not correct. Something Ranjan should be ranjan@gmail.com, right? So let's
Right.
say I want to update this record. So surely we are not going to create new record. I'm not going to delete them. I'm not going to get them. Sometime I need to update the existing record. So for that,
Update is a request body.
yes. So again, it's go to the here. Hey, I want to one more endpoint that support this update concept. Okay. So here I say not a post, not I'm going to post. I'm going to the put endpoint, right?
That's right. Put.
Typing and same users, same and just need the ID which I want to. This is a path variable ID, right? This ID I want to. I'm to go to update a specific user, right? So this is the here say update, okay? Update. And this is the user we receive. This is the user receive, and here I am going to the first we have to check this record exists or not. Maybe I pass some record because our purpose I am going to update this record. The first record must be exist, right? So we have to check the find by ID. The particular data exists or not, right? The here repository
Right.
first check find by ID. Find by
Right.
ID. This
Right.
exists or not, right? We return the variable, right?
Right.
Existing user. Exist existing user, right?
Right.
Is user exist. Is user exist. Well, first we have to check, right?
Right.
How to know exactly this method return two things might be valid ID or invalid ID. So you have an option. This have a present value or not present value. If the value is present, right?
Right.
That we need to update. That need to update here, right? Here we have to update now, right? But what value? We new value receive from here. This is the new value. This is they say new value, new user detail, right?
Right.
User detail or updated users. Update user. Update request. Okay, update user request.
Right.
Okay? This is the update user request, right? Say whatever this is the exist. First, you have to get the hey from this wrapper. You have to get the existing record. This get means return your existing user, right?
Right.
Existing DB user. DB user. In DB user, you can say, hey, this is DB user. I want to set the email from this updated user, right? This is we receive from the UI, right?
Right.
But get email ID. Similarly, maybe I want to change the DB user dot get set name. I want to change the name as well, right? So
Right.
updated user request dot get name. In this way, you can say, hey, now up, update this record, right? In this way, your data is updated. Once updated, after that, say, hey, again, say, now return this, again, find by database, right? And this is also return, maybe optional, right?
Right.
As find by ID, return the optional. In this way, you have to write the code. If exists, then update, else don't do, right? I
Oh,
say
okay, okay. Right.
incorrect data, then don't do, just return, you are not getting any value, right?
Right.
It's clear? So let's
Yeah.
start and test the update function, right?
Got it. Yeah.
So in this way, basic CRUD operation, whenever you are doing multiple triple time, this is become very easy, nothing else, right? And
Right.
notice here, we are just writing a business logic Java code, right? All we understand ki how to create the ops, how to is present, why are set method, get method, right?
Right.
And let's test. Here, let's test. We are getting all data. Yes. Now I am going to update 52 to this detail I want to update, right?
Right.
So let's go to the, because here we have not any option to update. So I'm going to use the postman. I'm saying, hey, I'm going to put endpoint, right? Put endpoint. Here say this is my detail, but this detail is the incorrect something, right? This should be right correct version, right?
Right. Right.
And just done. And here say what this which is the user? This is the user ID 1252, right? So this is the
Right.
52 I want here, right? 52 value. So why say this is a 52? Because 52 I want to update. The first our system go check 52 objects and what are the name and email. This is the new value we pass. New value we receive here in this request, right? From this request I receive and set in the database table and update them, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And let's test them. Why say method is not found? Put so let me say method is not found. Say here is the post mapping, put mapping. Okay, slash here I have to pass the ID, right?
Right.
We have to receive this na ID value here, right? So let's stop them. Similarly, methods are here. Here method is not found something, right? Method not allowed. The something our method this ID we are not able to receive from here, right?
Right.
So let's again start them, and most probably at this time it should work. So it will started. Yes, started. Let's check first application running. Yes, application running. They are receiving our data. Let's now I want to update this. Now 52. Change Ranjan and send them. Now it's updated. And let's check the all data. Right here should be. Now this is updated. Right, updated. Test to
Right.
Ranjan.
Right.
Maybe no. I say email should be start with the small letter. Right. So then I say it's incorrect. Maybe I change the small letter R. Right. And
Right.
send request. Send request. And again check this. It's updated. Yes, it's updated. Right. So this is the way. And what happened? I pass something here, maybe some incorrect value, maybe 521, right?
Right.
Notice, just try to update them. Say null, no find. There is no 522 record, right? So you cannot update
Right.
anything, right?
Right.
And notice 522, there is no any data, so no data is going to update, right?
Right.
So this is the way you can develop basic uh, CRUD operation means ki create operations, here create operation, update operations, delete operation, get all operation, get by ID operation. Very very simple. Just need 2 3 more time practice, right?
Right. Right. Right.
And now good part, now your application are communicating to the permanent storage device database, and your database server can be installed anywhere across the cloud or anywhere. This application going to interact and store data there, right?
Right.
Uh, Why? Because here you say, hey, this is the interface. Just tell me where database server. Here say this is a local host, means my machine. This is maybe this is installed on a different IP address. You can just mention the IP address, right? And give the
Right,
permission,
right.
right?
If it is outside, if it is
Ah,
outside.
across the world, anywhere your database is stored, just mention your detail here. And now
Right,
our this application going to store data in your permanent storage. Even application crash, running, not running, whatever. This is the my this is the my REST API. My application received a request from the user. User request received, and
right,
after that they create your object and request to the database server, right? And once
right,
database receive, they store in the particular permanent location, right? And
right,
maybe respond. Maybe this is stop not working, but this server your different machine is still running. Is still running. They can means your data is permanently stored here, right? Until I want someone know not go and detail manually. Yeah, application say hey delete this data, then this data going to delete it, right?
right,
So this is the layer. Your Spring Boot layer is the only your service, your microservice, your applications, and your database is a different server, different
right,
application, different software. Means ki our microservice software, our Spring Boot API are communicating to the database as different application. How
right,
this communication happen? Just set up some configuration, right? Nothing. There is no rocket science, right?
right,
So all things nowadays using the Spring framework, very simplified version. You can just do some little bit configuration and easily you can achieve your objective, your purpose, right?
right.
Till now, any doubt, question, confusion?
No, it's getting better. It's
It's
getting
very
better for sure.
simple. Simple, nothing. Here you are not doing anything extra. Just we are understand, learning how Spring offer this feature. What kind of annotation we have to use? What kind of a property we have to use, right?
Right,
These things, whatever the software you are going to use, whatever the framework, each framework provided, right?
right,
Because if I don't know how to configure our JDBC database, how I know? So just maybe currently we are studying Spring framework. The Spring framework as a documentation, each and everything provided to us, right?
right,
Just we have to just little bit give time. And this framework, whatever the feature have, whatever the notice, these are lots of feature they have, right? Go to the lots of
right,
good feature. Now we are learning Spring data, right? The AI Spring Boot. So these features already all are the place here available. And whatever the detail you are going to understand, go to the learning section and they have a lots of documentation, reference documentation. Go to the here reference documentation and read out each and everything details. What is the problem? Why? How to do it? Right?
right,
Any things you want to, let's get spring data and go to spring data, lots of component spring data have, right? And just learn the support the sample them. Just currently we are learning the spring data JPA, right? Spring data JPA, go to the spring data JPA, and here the learning section, go to the learning section, go to the reference document, click here and learn the detail whatever you want, complete detail about this annotation dependency, whatever you want, right?
right, right,
Notice here we are using the find all method, steal method, all this method they explain core concept. Why I'm getting this repository? Repository is an abstract interface, right? And you can just implement the CRUD or this and this. You are getting this method. By default, this method you are getting, right? What the
right,
meaning of this method? This method. They are mentioned. One means save, two means three, four means this, five. All are the explained well detailed, right?
right, right,
Sometime you want to pagination, like means ki currently we are just getting like a data here in our request, like only three data. Might be here 10,000 data. The 10,000 data is not displaying in one page, right?
right,
So might be you want look like something pagination, like first page 10, then next 10, then next 10, right? So by
right,
default, this feature you want, just use this documentation, use this instead of use the JPA, you can use this pagination and sorting repository, right? They
Right.
support the pagination concept, right? They given some simple code how you'll do, right? Best things they have given example to you, right?
Right.
How to create method, each and every well detailed documentation mentioned here, right? Just
Oh,
we
so
have,
pagination is like a JPA, but
yeah. If you want to make expert in this Spring framework, you have to just go the documentation of Spring.
oh, documentation. Okay. Mm.
Each in because you don't know how we can Spring use. If you are going to use any third party software, third party software work as their design, right? Then
Right.
if
Right.
you are using the Spring framework, you want to Spring work, whatever the Spring designs, you have to know. How to know Spring design, how to know which method is Spring written, until Spring not tell you. The Spring how to tell. Spring say, okay, don't worry, I have well designed documentation for you. Just read out my detail. And each and
Okay.
everything you
Okay. I
can do.
see. Okay. Because their documentation is the best because that's their product.
Because they want na Spring as a organization want ki our developer can use Spring. If they not provide enough information, how developer learn, how developer use, right?
Mm, right. Right.
The good part, I'm not just about talking about Spring. Any framework you are going to launch, any technology you are going to launch, each technology have a documentation.
Okay.
Without
Okay.
her
I understand.
documentation, how I can know what you written, right?
But it's this is all about a web application, right? In
Currently, we are, yes, about the application, you can say, not only web application. Complete. This is the notice. Spring have a lots of project here. Spring Boot, Spring Framework, Spring
oh, so
Cloud,
it's
Spring Data, Spring.
not only a web.
Not the REST API, microservices, and everything you can do. Just go to the here. You can develop microservice, reactive application, event driven, cloud based, web application, serverless, batches.
So let me understand. The one that we are learning right now, it's called web application. Out
Web
of this,
application, or you can say microservice. We're doing
oh,
microservice.
microservice. Okay.
Just this the way doing learning microservice, how to develop a microservice. What is the microservice?
Mhm.
What is the written here? Just quick start. Look microservice is the Spring Boot. Whatever you're doing, we're developing REST API as a form of jar. That means we are building the small microservices.
Right.
Just
Right. Right.
notice here, go to the quick start and notice it's the same thing you can cover here. How to build your application. So here,
Right.
not in your application, whatever the thing required, mostly Spring try to address them. Okay. If something missing, you can do from basic code Java. Internally, they are using the core Java concept, right?
Right. Right. Hmm.
Whatever, notice here, JPA given us here given all the feature using this interface. They written in the Java language, right?
Right.
They implement extend interface, all the logic they written, right?
Right.
So internally, Spring as a community just using the Java language to make this framework so that as a developer easily can develop his application, right?
Right. Hmm.
So not like Spring is just for web. Spring, notice here, Spring is suited for the building microservice, maybe reactive application, event-driven application, cloud-based application, web applications, serverless application, batch processing, everything you can do, right? And anything you
Uh,
want to learn, they have a well
now,
documentation.
Ajay bhai, there is an option called cloud. What is this cloud means? Is it like
Cloud
a
means now
AWS?
your application can communicate to the cloud. Means your database may be installed in some cloud application. How to communicate your application to the cloud, right? Maybe
Yeah.
AWS cloud, Google cloud, right? So they provide the some technique how your application can communicate to the any cloud, right?
Oh, so they have some technique. Okay. Mhm.
Technique means just configuration. Just like today
Configuration.
we
Yeah.
learn about the MySQL configuration. Similarly, they have some configuration, some annotation. In Spring, i- rarely you find two things. One is the configuration in application at property file or
Right.
annotation. These two things you have to learn. Maybe annotation or application.property file configuration.
Right. Right.
Spring use these two terminology whenever you want to any feature, microservice, reactive, cloud, web service, serverless, batch. You have to learn what Spring given annotation for that or what given configuration for that.
Right. Right.
If you learn, you can easily integrate in your application. So here we are just till now whatever you learn just the part of your microservice. We are just building one jar application and developing REST API, get, post, put, man. We are not using the web app server. We are not developing any UI, right? Notice I am not
Right.
developing any UI, right?
Right.
Now this endpoint, this API is accessed by any web application. Now, if you are going to develop your UI application, right? UI application.
Right.
Here, develop UI application and create user form, right? User form, username and email ID and password and submit button, right? And whenever
Right.
you submit, call my post endpoint, right?
Right.
So we have a develop backend API. Any web application, UI application can consume my endpoints. Are you getting clear?
Yeah.
Till now, we have not developed the web application. We have developed the background activity on the UI. What you can do? You are going to create the user and press the submit button. After press,
Right.
what happen? The information go stored in the database. So you have developed those things. Your API receive user request from the UI and persist in the database, right?
Right. Right.
So currently we have developed backend REST API that's are used by the web application to make more interactive, user-friendly application.
Right.
Okay? Any confusion?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
So I think it's a good in there is any confusion because if you just do 2, 3, 4 times this practice now you become expert, you can say, to developing microservice backend API, right? Any
Yeah, yeah. So what we learned is called the name is called microservice and backend API, API REST API, right?
learn how to develop REST API. Yes.
Okay, okay.
Basic things like we can learn how we can build a REST API. REST
Right,
API means
right.
see how to get post. These API can use by different maybe UI use, mobile application use, Postman use, browser use, right? Because objective is that we have just developed one microservice. This microservice have a set of endpoint one to create, update, delete. These endpoints are going to consume by maybe mobile application they can call my endpoint. Maybe one web application, UI based application can call my, maybe my curl command can call them. Maybe another application can call my API, right?
Yeah.
So any
Now,
different
Ajay bhai, I have a question. Let's say that I want to put a button like a
uh,
CSS.
uh,
How do you integrate those in here?
yeah, you can do often we have to that time we have to understand read the UI component. First you have to develop the button.
Oh,
How to
UI.
develop a
Oh,
button?
so those are called UI component.
UI component. You have developed the HTML component button. On the click button. On the click button, you want to call this is the my microservice deployed on the maybe my house machine, right? They have
Yeah,
exposed the create endpoint, right? On the
yeah,
click button, you want to call my API, right? So on the
right,
click event, you have to use the JavaScript here. JavaScript to on the click you want to write the some code, right? On the click you have to generate my this is the URL. This is the URL you have to call, right? This is the URL you have to call post URL, right? This is the
right.
URL you have to place on your button click. This is my on click button. I'm clicking the JavaScript function call where they are going to the call microservice. And what the response they receive, and then they display the message, hey, record saved successfully.
So it sounds like little bit work to like
For that we
involve.
have to going to understand the web UI design concept, how to
Oh, okay,
HTML,
okay.
CSS, right, works. But
Mm.
all
It's
things is
yeah,
possible. Whatever currently happen, it's a possible. But for that we have to understand this. First I have to create the how to create a page. Let me maybe later time permit to basic things we understand. At this maybe coming classes, whenever time permit, we basic things. Let's see, we can create one basic form, right? Basic form.
right,
Whatever I am doing from here, postman. Postman I passing this information. Why not
right,
we can create one basic application, right? Basic application. This is the one form, right? In this form, you can create two button, username and password, right? And OK button, right?
Right.
and I'm posting something, writing something, and post here. And this information go and save database, right? So
Right.
this is
Yeah.
known as your web application. Spring support web application as well as we'll explore them, right?
So they
Spring,
support web application. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Spring is supporting all each and everything. Okay, but internally we have to different. But what till now, why we are testing the postman? Because we have not any UI to test this, right? Why we are
Oh
using the
yeah, yeah. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
problem is we have developed endpoint, we have developed microservice, but how to test? The currently we have not any application, not any mobile application, not any web application. So this is the postman is the one application help us to test my code.
Okay. So Postman, you can test anything without you developed UI.
Yeah, all the
You
API,
can
all the REST endpoint you
all
can
the
test from the postman,
right.
right? And later part, this testing done, all done. This API can be easily integrated with the mobile application, web application, desktop application, anywhere.
Right.
But so maybe later part if time permit, because lots of things. If you go backend API, lots of things still pending. Cover up. Maybe usually we cannot cover all and everything, but basic things we have to do. Okay. Let's
Right.
first practice them, and some more classes we continue understanding about this your backend API. Till now, notice we have only covered this maybe only one table, right? One table
Right.
data we are getting. What happen? I want to maybe two tables data joining and return data, right? How
Okay.
to
Okay. Oh, it is
multiple tables,
possible
right?
to more
Yeah,
more
all the
tables.
we cover this coming session, right? I want to just give the basic flavor and then move to the next topics, right?
Okay. Okay. Thank you. No problem.
It's good. So here
Yeah.
in the backend, lots of still thing pending. This is just we keep the basic, very basic.
Right. Right.
But
Okay. Okay.
this is not basic your application going to develop, right? This is the starting point here to
Yeah.
learn how to develop
This,
microservice or base REST API, right?
right. But this is starting point. This is like a basic.
Starting point. This is a basic
Mm-hmm.
hygiene, right?
Right.
I think so. Today, very simple. Whatever going to do, just we did MySQL configuration file before we created one user database, right? And this we did basic configuration. After
Right.
that, we just create one simple our user model entity, and after that created our repository, user repository, and after that I just created the our REST microservice as a REST controller and develop this. Get endpoint for all, get endpoint for specific by ID, post endpoint creating a new record, update endpoint create the update the existing record, and you want to delete then delete the record, right?
Right. Right.
Let's do practice and note down your question answer if any, right?
Sure.
I think we are good for the day.
Yeah. Good for the day. Thank you.
Okay, take care. Bye.